You're listening to the Black Eagles podcast.
Ahmet Dursun Sergen aldı. Sergen Bülent yan yana. Sergen Bülent. Sergen. Yanında Tümer var. Tümer'e doğru at. Tümer gitti. Tümer topu aldı. Sergen aldı. Gol! Gol! Sergen attı. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi. Sergen attı. Şampiyonluk geldi.
İbrahim'in pası. Zuma. Şimdi Ahmet. İkinci gole gidiyor Beşiktaş. Ahmet.
Welcome back, everybody. Episode 117 of Beşiktaş International, the Black Eagles podcast. I am your host, Sinan, coming at you live from New York City, as always, and with me again is everyone's favorite co-host, Evran. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I was very excited intro, and I suppose I'm supposed to be somber and whatnot. All right, let me readjust myself here. Yeah, I guess I'm not so good on reflection. Whatever. Monday night here in New York City, already kind of a weird time to be thinking about a football match, especially since we have another one on Thursday, poorly scheduled by the Super Lig, but I guess considering their systemic issues, that's the least of our concern at the moment. Of course, we have a big match to talk about today. We played on the road in Kayseri, and beyond that, there's not much else to talk about. We do have a match midweek, so we'll be back again soon. So we don't want to spend too much time dilly-dallying. There is, of course, some news, foreign limitations, speaking of the Super League and the TFF and all that. But first, let's deal with the issue at hand. We have to talk about a match against Kayserispor. Evran Akman, what do you think? So we're going into this match in a great position, aren't we? Give us the review of what brought us up, of what happened in this weekend coming into this match.
So I think we both were hoping that the teams in third and fourth place, Sivas and Gala, would drop points, and they did. Gala fell to Trabzonspor 3-1, and Sivas tied 0-0 in Kasımpaşa. So going into it, if we won, we were looking to pass Gala, move into fourth place for the first time in forever, and be just 1 point behind Sivas. So a lot was at stake today.
Yeah, everything went our way. I mean, relatively, right? Sivas could have lost rather than drawing, whatever. Yeah. But nonetheless, things were looking great. We had the chance to pass Galatasaray and come within a point of Sivas. Really start breathing down their necks. And so, we're coming up against Kayserispor. And now, everyone, once again, I'll hand you the mic. Kayserispor is sort of in a dogfight for relegation, or to just stay out of the relegation zone, rather. Tell us a little bit about where they are coming into this match.
Yeah, so they were, the bottom for most of the season, but they've had a good run of form. And since the restart, their only loss was a last-minute heartbreaker to 10-man Fenerbahce, who managed to score 2 goals in 2 minutes to snatch the win. But they already beat Sivas last week and against Lerby beforehand. So they're coming in pretty good, but just missing their star player Bernard Mensah for suspension.
Who supposedly hadn't lost. Without him, they hadn't won in their 6 chances.
Yeah, but with a win, they would make it out of their relegation zone, having been bottom for most of the season. So pretty big game for them and for us.
Yes, and so that's a good, I think, intro for what brought us into this match. Sorry, I'm in the wrong. There we go. And so let's with all of that said, I think we should probably talk a little bit about the lineups. And so there's probably going to be some controversy as far as how that goes. Now, 3 defensive midfielders. Sergen Yalchin. So, first of all, Ersin started in the goal. Gökhan Gönül, Domagoj Vida, Victor Ruiz, Ridvan Yilmaz, going across the defense. No surprises. But in the midfield, we saw Atiba Hutchinson, Mohamed El-Neni, and Necip Uysal all starting somehow. So 3 central defensive midfielders with Lens and Diaby on the wing, on the left side, with Burak up front, naturally. Evran, what do you say about that?
I think everyone who saw this lineup was like, what the hell? Why would you do that? Diaby on the wing.
Some of the crazier folks in the group chat were like, this is Sergei Yalchin's been paid off to lose this one. I mean, yikes. Okay, let's relax. But yeah, I mean, that's how bad the lineup was, that it could enable those kinds of people. Sorry, go ahead, everyone.
Yeah, I mean, Diaby as a winger. I think I think he's terrible on the wing. Just tight spaces, close control, taking men on one-on-one is just really not his thing. Necip is, a limited footballer, and El-Neni doesn't have a creative bone in his body, apparently. So that just is not what I would like to have seen, especially with Boateng on the bench. It's not. I mean, I know with Lowlights out with Corona still, it's not like we don't have any other options. So, not really understand that decision.
Yeah, I think when Diaby is not a winger. Let's just that's a Beşiktash International Black Eagles podcast official hot take. Diaby is not a winger. He does not belong on the wing. And so to try him out on the left wing for the first time, that was a dodgy decision. I think we could all agree, especially with Nkudu healthy. But whatever. Or even Janer, I guess, if since apparently we're not hesitating to play him at some point. But anyway, so yeah, weird decisions, tactically speaking. You really have to question 3 central defensive midfielders coming out there in a match against a team in the relegation zone. Surely, yes, they're coming with some heat and some passion, but you also have to expect that you're a significantly better side, and you have to sort of play up to that to some extent. So playing with 3 defensive midfielders feels like you're kind of seeding them something before you even start playing, which I did not like. Yeah. Anything else to say about that, everyone, or shall we move on?
Nothing much.
Anything to say about Kayseri's lineup?
Yeah, I mean, they shuffled around a little bit. Mensah was out, and then one of their center backs got hurt, so they switched back to a back forward. And Jajejes filled in for the Mensah role, and then they brought in, the former, not wonder kid, but player that we had once had hope for the national team, Enver Cenk on the wing. So it was mostly what we expected, though.
How old is Enver Cenk now?
He's still just 25. He was in the same group with Kerem Fry and Çalhanoğlu in that U20 World Cup that Turkey hosted.
Yeah,
back in the day, and Okayo Kuşlu also was in that group.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna say Okayo Kuşlu, and also wasn't Çaylar as well.
Chala was not in that squad that I remember.
I thought he was.
I believe he's a year or 2 younger than that.
I thought he emerged then. Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, yeah. But so again, right? You'd think on paper we have a much more talented, expensive, renowned side, so we should be okay, despite maybe them being hungry or whatever, and on pretty decent form, obviously. But yeah. So let's talk about this match. I guess. I don't know. So yeah, early on, what do you think, everyone? I think it's fairly back and forth. I think it takes us, again, as it always does, a little time for us to get comfortable out there. But they have a couple, nervy counterattacks, you could say. But
Yeah, I think like right in the first minute they hit the bar from outside the box. But other than that, they didn't really have too many chances. Outside of that, they got real close right in the beginning. But we really looked just kind of shoddy for, I would say, about 20 minutes.
Yeah, and like we always showed, or I don't know if we showed weakness on their counters or if they showed strength on their counters, but they showed that they were like capable of springing something when we gave them the space to do it. But after about 20 minutes, it really felt like we realized that that's what they were doing. We had guys with a technical proficiency like Victor Ruiz and whatever, who could kind of just like, okay, this is what they're going to do, so they're going to cut out these passes a little more aggressively, and we seemed fine. Again, about 20-25 minutes in, I think we started to dominate this match. But there was no moments in the official timeline in the first half, which is kind of wild to me. With that said, I think Lung, their keeper, had probably 3 good saves, 2 sort of typical saves, but he was really under pressure in that first half.
Yeah, I think it was like out of nowhere. We kind of had like a flurry of chances. It started with Diaby. I think it was at the 21st minute. Yeah, 21st minute. Lens put in like a really good cross. Not typical, I guess. But Diaby's by himself at the penalty spot. Not the greatest header. Basically, if he placed it well, it's a certain goal. But put it too close to the goalie, we get a corner. A couple more half chances after that. 6 minutes later, Atiba had a great chance. Another cross from Lens. Lung just made like an outrageous save. It was kind of like, when they headed back across the keeper. As the keeper ran across, he reached back and palmed it out. And then we just kept creating chances. Burak missed, I don't know how many chances in that first half. I think 3.
Yeah, maybe
2 very poorly. He had one like an easy shot, and he just kind of like poked it.
I had 4, but I think one of them was like, I thought he could have put in more effort, but it was sort of more questionable.
But he had 2. One that he really had to have scored, and he screwed it up. One that was a good chance, and then he had one really good header right at the end of the half that Lung made like an outstanding save. That was almost in the top corner. And I think that was basically all the first half.
Yeah, and we're dominant. I think we have something like almost 70% of the ball at that point. Things are looking good, but again, you're not feeling too great about the fact we haven't scored yet, in that this Lung fella seems to be having the match of his life. Halftime 0-0, no subs made. Now that's questionable. I think you could there are a few guys underperforming to this point. I think one sub should have been made at halftime. That was kind of my take. Who are you gonna say?
For me, it was either Diaby, Nejip, or El Neni. One of that trio should have came out. We had too many defensive mids on, and Diaby.
Exactly. Yeah. No. You're torn
up left and right.
You're torn between the need to take off one of those defensive midfielders and just like state your intent, right? But also, yeah, you're right, because Diaby was so poor, especially, and because Nkudu is a guy you can put on and you can immediately sort of change the tempo of a match.
Yeah.
I think Diaby for Nkudu would have probably been my sub at the half.
Yeah. Also, I thought maybe Boateng to give us a proper 10. One of those two. My pick to come.
I would have put 2. I would have made 2 subs. Even though we weren't losing or anything, but I think you still have to sort of, you have to kind of put the fire under those guys, because it's clear to me that we're in a tenuous position there where it's the Super League. Anyone can do anything at any moment. This is the football. So, anyway, no subs made, on the other hand. So 1 or 2 was not the debate for Sergen Yeltsin, apparently. 47th minute, Diaby gets himself a yellow card. Diaby came out really poor, honestly. He was even worse in the second half. Yeah.
The first half, he just wasted everything. The second half, he didn't get into position to even waste it.
And I will say, as a kind of honorable mention, in that Necip was surprisingly decent in the first half, but he trailed off from.
Yeah,
from
somehow
the
he got
whistle as well.
tired
Yeah,
at the start of the second half. Like
Wonder
he got
how-
a break and looked
even
gassed.
he looked worse. Yeah, I don't know. He was trying to exercise in the hallway too much. Anyway, 51st minute, just a few minutes after the Diaby yellow card, the first goal is scored in the match, and this was criminal. It's criminal that Beşiktaş did not score the first goal because this was truly against the run of play. But let me hand it to you, man. 51st minute. How'd that go?
Yeah, we were pretty comfortable in possession, playing them along the back and in our own third. Ball came to Ridvan. The whole sideline was open, but for some reason he just turned back inside towards our own goal and like right into the Kayseri player. I guess he didn't check over his shoulder. I can't tell you why he would do that, but basically just get right to Enver Şahin.
He really, you got it. I think he was trying to be sneaky. I think he thought, I'm going to do something clever here, and the guy was like, okay, thanks.
It was literally right to him. Like it wasn't like he tackled him. He literally just turned right into to the winger, and he had loads of space if he just kept like the ball's momentum. It just didn't really make sense. But with that, he just took the ball, ran at Vida, and Vida didn't really like commit either way. Just kind of like held his ground, and he just laid it off to Hasan Hüseyin, who was, threw on goal, slotted the ball into the bottom corner. That was 1-0.
Yeah, I don't want to put blame on anyone but Ridvan on that one, because I think
that was Ridvan's fault. That you can't really.
Once you've got a guy
defend him
like
for that.
the ball in front of the goal with like the space to pass, I mean, yeah, that was a disaster.
I think Vida could have done better. I think for an experienced defender, but in the end, you can't lose the ball like that in that position, basically needlessly.
Some boo boys, I guess we could call them, wanted to blame Ersin for that goal, saying he should have saved it with his foot or something. I don't think once you're in a one-on-one position and you have a guy who's a professional footballer on the other end, I don't think you can hope for much more than a goal. 53rd minute, yellow card for Enver Şahin, who actually did play fairly well though, despite that. 62nd minute, we finally got some subs, and
I think it should have happened 2 minutes after the goal. Once that goal came in, everything was flat. I think that those subs were about 5-7 minutes late at least, but that's just my opinion.
well, and like we were just talking about how there should have been subs at the half, so they're super late in that regard. But 62nd minute, Caner Erkin comes in for Ridvan Yilmaz, which certainly that's not the kind of confidence boosting move you make as a manager, which you kind of almost want him to make, since Ridvan has played fairly well up to today. Nkudu comes in for Lens. I think Nkudu coming in is absolutely the right move, but for Lens, that was a shockingly bad decision. I think that to this point, Lens is the best performer.
Should have been the one to come out.
Absolutely.
Especially his Lens can actually cross a little bit.
And he's having a good match.
But he can actually cross.
Up to this point, he's the only one creating chances for us. He's putting in effort. He and Atiba and like Gökhan Gönül are the only guys like really showing up and making an effort. Jeremy Lens even comes up and makes a good defensive stop at some point. So I thought that was a terrible decision. And then Boateng for Necip, fine. That's actually exactly the move. He should have made a halftime.
Probably, yeah.
But 1 for 3 is not a good record for subs as far as how we judge them, but that's how it is, I guess. 68th minute, they make a sub, taking out was it Paulo Henrique? Pedro Henrique. He was injured, I think, but Situm comes into the match. Another striker.
He's Croatian.
What's his deal? How old is he?
28.
He's pretty decent.
Same nationality as the coach, I believe. Yeah, Prostinets.
Well, and so 74th minute, the clouds part for a moment. Boateng with a lovely ball to Atiba Hutchinson, who puts it away. Who else, right, besides Atiba, to give us a moment of hope? Tell us what happened there.
I think it was a corner that came back out. Nkudu kind of slotted it back in to like the middle to Vita, who laid it off to Boateng, who just did a first time. One of those nice, grass cutting balls that just curled perfectly. It looked like to Burak. Burak just was beyond him as he slid through. And then in comes this, this flying at the back post, just slides in. More awake than defender. Just wanted it more type goal. It wasn't like it was an excellent finish. You just had to get there, anticipate better than defender. The 37-year-old Atiba was wide awake at the back post, which I think is all you can ask for from your experienced players.
Yeah, it's a veteran savvy move right there. But yeah, and so for a minute it looks like okay, we're back. 78th minute, Rienstra comes in for Cenk Şahin. But that's when things would sort of, as they say, things fall apart. Indeed, in the 83rd minute, bad timing, because this is a point where we think we're pressing for that game winner, and instead, what happens, sir?
Yeah, so Kayseri took like a free kick like before the ref's whistle. They scored. Instead of giving the referee was like, nah, you got to wait. And didn't give the player a card.
And the official reasoning was that he had asked Ersin to move his water bottle, which I think was...
Yeah. But then, so right away he goes, someone was saying, Ajay takes the free kick again, and it was kind of, you've seen the Champions League goal. It was Ajax versus Real Madrid. Lasse Schöne, that kind of like that sideline free kick that dips high into the corner. That's exactly what he did. Not quite as well placed, but it was still very close to the top corner. I'll say Ersin kind of like took a step out, like he was expecting the cross, and then it was not a cross, and then he was caught a little bit out. So I think if you anticipated that shot, it was one of those ones that would have looked like an excellent save if he could have tipped over, but instead, I think it'll be kind of chalked down as, not a good goal to concede. I don't think it's fair to say it's like a absolute howler, from what we used to see from like Karius, but at the same time, I think he does bear at least, responsibility for not being in the best position possible. So.
He, his first step, he takes a gamble and he says, I'm going to go in and punch this ball out of the box. Like, I'm going to clear out what he thinks is a cross. And that's the wrong decision. It turns out this guy's taking a shot. This guy who, he has 3 goals this season, 2 of them against us today. I was joking with Evran before the episode. He must have been bitten by a radioactive coronavirus bat or something that turned him into a professional footballer, because apparently this guy's now good. He looked really solid. He was at one point just dribbling around our entire team before Boateng decided he had to foul him and just wake up the rest of the team. And guys, just stop this guy, get him off the ball. But so yeah, Hussein Achar, I guess, might be a talent. 25 years old. You want to piggyback on that, or shall we move on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really remember him too much in the first half. Former second and third division player, but I could definitely tell once he scored that goal, he was feeling himself. He was, dribbling everyone, doing moves, shooting from the sideline.
I felt like
I think as a player myself, I can say, when you score a goal, it just kind of changes your mood. And then when you score another goal like that, it's over. No one can talk to you, and he was definitely having one of those days.
And just 2 really good goals too. Neither one of them was like a fluke. So credit to him, I guess. The kid's got some finishing ability, it turns out. See if he can turn that into something. But I wouldn't be surprised if someone spends a little money on him this summer in Turkey, and then that blows up. But whatever, we'll see. Substitution in the 84th minute as a response.
Yeah, immediate response.
Ruben Yalchin comes in for Diaby. And then 86th minute, boom. they score a goal because Guven
Yeah,
Yalchin
instant
is
impact
keeping
from
him.
the substitute.
Guven Yalchin keeps his man onside. After losing the ball, he tracks back and then keeps the man that scores the goal onside, trying to defend the ball against the guy who took the ball off of him. So it's another Guven Yalchin spectacular. Tell us about the goal, Kravets.
Yeah, you've got it pretty good. It was a clean through breakaway down the left side because Guven runs all the way back. I think the normal person would have realized it's bad and just, there's a reason why you see pro just hacking players down from behind. Unless it's Quaresma when they're angry, it's usually because it's like, we don't want them to score.
Damn it, I screwed up and I have to sacrifice this.
Yeah, let me just take one for the team. Guven just chases back.
Kind of like what I was just saying, like Boateng does with Hussein Achar there. And it's not cardable because he doesn't do anything too bad there, but just say, look, guys, you take one for the team and accept a foul when you're,
And I think we've seen it before. Guven cannot defend. It reminds me a lot of the Malatya game, this one. And drops all the way back. I think he was 2 yards past all the defenders, Kravitz, but so was Mr. Guven. So, 3-1. I think some people might say that, Erson should have saved it. But, if you're going to leave your goalie high and dry like that, I don't think we're at the stage to say, expect their goalie to be bailing us out.
And he actually had bailed us out a couple of times in the first half.
Previously, he did make one excellent save, like a double save off a one-on-one. So.
Yeah. A couple of substitutions. Axel Aktash comes in. Is it Axel? I think it is. Emre Tashdemir comes in for Lopez. Besides that, nothing really happens. That's it for the match. It ends with Kayseri continuing their streak of breaking our hearts in Kayseri.
I'm sick of that.
Yeah, I was all one of our really negative guys in the group chat was like, they do this every time and we always get beaten, and I was like, screw the past, it doesn't matter. And it doesn't. We didn't lose today because we've lost last season or the year before. We lost today because our players played like crap, frankly. And because also our manager decided to play a really weird team. 3 defensive midfielders and then compounding it with 3 bad substitutions out of 4, I think. Or maybe 4 out of 5. I don't even.
But also knows we haven't won in Kayseri since Abubakar was starting against them, and Omer Shishmanoglu scored the winner. That gives you context for how long ago that was.
The Shishmanoglu. I wish we had him still. So where do we go with this, man? All right, let's move on to statistics first before we go on to the table and fixtures and the Super League and the ramifications. So you, man, are the stat guy. Tell us what you got.
Yes, I don't have my advanced stats today due to the timing of the game and the episode, but I will give you the basic stats. Beşiktaş had about 65% possession overall in the game. 12 chances to 9, or 12 chances and 12 shots to 9. All in all, Beşiktaş definitely created more chances, and basically they just blew the game. Let's just be honest. The first goal we conceded was not a created chance; it was given away. The second goal was a shot from the sideline, and the third goal was just pure stupidity from Guven Yalchin. I guess if you want to look a little bit deeper, each team won 58 duels. Interestingly, Beşiktaş attempted 27 dribbles and only conceded 12, which is like a 40% success rate, which is not great. I think, especially when you have players like Necip, dribbling players. We had basically Necip and Atiba as our primary dribbler, which is not always, what you would hope for instead of like players like Onkuru or, what we've been used to in the past.
That's a very diplomatic way. Not always what you hope for.
Yeah.
Indeed. That's certainly not what maybe not ever what you hope for.
Beşiktaş also had a bad, the tackle ratio for the team was very poor. We won less aerials, less interceptions. So and our goalie made 1 save, and their goalie, or I guess 2 saves. Their goalie made 7 saves. So Mr. Lung Jr. had a good game.
Yeah.
If you look at individually, Atiba was our highest rated player, I guess, according to stats. I think Kevin Prince Boateng came in and played pretty good. Lens was pretty good.
I think
he was
Lens
useless.
probably would have been our highest rated player if he hadn't been taken
Yeah.
off. Like in the first
And
round
then
of
he-
subs. What is that guy doing?
Doesn't pass the ball forward. That's my thing. It's 96% passing accuracy though, which I don't really think. Like for example, Red Bond had 100% pass accuracy, which I don't really think means much.
Yeah, it was still
It just means you're playing your passes safely. We don't have like advanced stats, but like there's stats that track like how many like your passes a player makes lead to goals. Players like El Neni and Ridvan would be very low or lead to shots if they just don't make forward passes. So I think that's one of the stats I'll say to ignore a little bit is accuracy for certain players. That's part of the reason I don't rate El Neni. Is 96% means nothing to me.
But so are you saying that he's like your low light for the match today? Is El Neni?
He's one of three probably. Yeah.
Wow. I would say El Neni for me
Well,
was more of a just like meh, whatever, like kind of typical game where he didn't assert himself offensively.
I think Kartal would have done better. That's just my opinion.
You could probably argue that he would have done better than like Nejip first before he would have done better than El Neni at least.
Kartal passes the ball forward though.
No, I just mean, I would have rather had Nejip come out before El Neni.
Yeah, I don't know why Nejip only played to be
Yeah,
honest,
he's
but-
the one. Yeah, I mean, we really, I mean, I have no words for that, honestly. I really, for me, the person who needs the spotlight as far as like the negative spotlight would have to be Sergen Yalchin today, who made a terrible decision, at every point where he was given the opportunity to make a decision, honestly.
Yeah, this is kind of like the same conversation we had on the Antalya game where we lost and he picked a garbage lineup, but we still should have won.
Exactly.
When you look at the total like statistical breakdown, and I think that's why I wasn't too excited last week.
Well, and
I'm not sure if it came off, but I was kind of like, yeah, we won, but that's just because we got the goal,
But that's like,
And I think today's game, Burak played kind of poorly, let's be honest, and we didn't get that goal. And everything fell apart. Like, we got 2 goals right before halftime.
I would
So
say
think
Burak had a
difference.
worse game than El
that
Neni.
red card.
I think Burak's game was worse than El Neni's. And for me, the worst game today is probably Diaby. Diaby had the worst match, I think.
Diaby was quite poor.
And then Burak was terrible.
Guven was just
Guven Yalchin was horrible.
decided to put the hatchet, hammer the game, made sure we lose.
Yeah, and then he
Honestly,
even lost
I would
the
rather
ball.
just play with the man down sometimes than have Guven on. That's how bad it's
To
got.
see him come out on the wing was just like, oh, God, that's it. And then who else played poorly? Obviously, Ridvan had a pretty bad match. You got to be honest.
Yeah,
with
Ederson
it.
wasn't his greatest.
Yeah, Ederson didn't have a good match, but I would still argue it's not really his fault. You can't put any keeper in those positions. The same way that I always defended Karius, and that I defended Fabry in the beginning when people were on his back. I'll defend this kid. You can't put
I
any
will
keeper
say,
in that position.
To put it in contrast, I think Burak has more to blame than Ederson.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I think especially the chances, like one of those chances Burak missed where he just had to shoot it, and then he was like, he like you could see like he changed his mind, he was gonna trap it, and instead he just kind of like let it hit his foot and it rolled to the keeper. But it was a 100% goal chance. And then he was just awful in the
He
build-up.
didn't even look hungry, and that's what killed me today.
Yeah.
What makes me want to give him the low light. It's not that he necessarily had the worst match technically. It's that this was the match where he needed to take the team onto his shoulders. He was the sort of prolific talent up front with Ljajic out and, playing someone else on the wing again, sort of playing around with the midfield as Sergen decided to do. This was really a match that Burak Yilmaz, much like the last match, he had to take this team on his shoulders. And he did.
To be honest, in the second half, I didn't notice he was playing until like the 58th minute.
I thought maybe he'd been taking on that first round of subs.
Yeah.
And then maybe Lens had been
But
out
it
there or
was-
something. But yeah, no, sure enough. But so yeah, I think that pretty much covers it because we've said our highlights are
Yeah.
Atiba.
Also, another fun stat I didn't do for Diaby, he attempted 6 dribbles and completed 0.
I mean,
Which is, in case you didn't know, that's horrendous.
I'm not even surprised.
it's
Though.
just
He
awful.
really like.
Nejip completed 2 out of his 3 dribbles. Nejip.
Yeah, I mean, he was surprisingly good, honestly. I almost would have given him the highlight.
Yeah.
But for me,
But that second half was, useless.
yeah, he really fell off. For me, I've got to say Lens had the best match, but since he got taken off, I'd probably go with
Atiba,
you.
probably.
Yeah, I go with you and say it goes to Atiba.
Atiba, Boateng, and Lens were the best players, in my opinion. Boateng showed some hunger, and especially right after we scored that first goal, he almost, that back heel.
Yeah.
Not sure if you remember that, but if that almost came off, that would have been like Guti level insanity.
Yeah.
But
and I like that the goal was between Boateng and Atiba, and in their celebration they put their fist up, kind of BLM shout out. That was nice.
yeah, I'm not sure if you noticed, but Boateng had like his undershirt. You could see it through his shirt. It said Black Lives Matter. He probably wanted to take it off if he scored, but
With the assist, but
Did
they
not
still put the
work
fist
out.
up,
Yeah,
which
did
was
not
cool.
work
And so shouts to them for that. But yeah, unfortunately, it all fell apart from there.
yeah, it was a disaster for me, to be honest. Especially because it was like there was no reason to lose the
It
game.
really wasn't. It was terrible.
7 corners to 0. They didn't have a corner the whole game. Basically, they only had 1 chance that they didn't score, or I guess 2. This one was like that first shot from distance, but the game was just thrown away.
Well, and so the saddest part for me is this next one where we shift to the table and to sort of analysis of the Super League in general. And I have to say that yet again, we're in 5th place. That's like the 7th episode in a row. Like I really thought this was the week we would be able to say something else. But so this week, we can officially say that we are pretty much out of contention for the title.
Yeah, we just
No.
There's 12 points left
It's
to play
official.
for, and we're
We're
13 points behind.
Because
yeah.
we lost, because of the loss, we're officially out. It was bad enough that Başakşehir won, but with our loss, we were officially out of contention. That's official.
Trabzon only needs 1 more point to be out of reach
If
for us.
Trabzon loses all of their games, but only manages to draw 1, they're still in 2nd place, even if we win out. So 2nd place is
Assuming
basically
Sivas, yeah.
out of contention. 3rd place, on the other hand, is not out of reach yet. So Sivas has 54 points to our 50. Galatasaray still has 52 points to our 50. So we can certainly pass Galatasaray. We can still pass Sivas, all things considered. It'll take a lot of luck. And certainly, even if we're still theoretically very much in the same place we were in terms of the 3rd place being our ceiling and our realistic ceiling and, the dream. Certainly what hurts the most is just how much of a missed opportunity this was.
And now it's worth noting that Fenerbahce and Alanya both won are now 1 and 2 points behind us. So that dropping to 7th is now a realistic possibility after, we had that. We're looking to
move into 2nd.
Make separation.
We were talking about 2nd place. Dude, if we won, I don't even want to do it. If we won, forget it. Who cares? So, where does that leave us, Evran? Give us a bit of analysis about what's happening. What do we need to happen on Thursday?
Yeah. So we play Kasımpaşa on Thursday, which is obviously must win. I don't need to say anything else. We cannot afford to lose
And so,
games.
by the way, Thursday, July 9th, Eastern Standard Time here in New York City again, or in New York State as far as Evran goes, 2 p.m. Another really late night for you folks in Turkey, 9 p.m. I think we've established they're doing this to mitigate the heat of the Turkish summer
Yeah.
So it's late night for you Turks, 8 p.m.
Yeah, there's
in Europe.
games as early as tomorrow again also, though. So if you do like to watch the Turkish League, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, there's games. So
That's right. And we're not at a big disadvantage, even though we played Monday and we play again on Thursday. Our rival Galatasaray plays on Wednesday, so they have the same sort of day differential. So,
rest. Yeah.
that's that. But so yeah, what do we want happening? So obviously we want to beat Kasim Pasha at 2 p.m. on Thursday. What else? What else are we looking for?
Big day is Wednesday. Sivas hosts Malatya. Malatya is in the relegation zone, so they need to win. And then Gala visits Alanyaspor, who's just on our tail. So those are the two games we need help from. And then basically next week, that's like the next 2 weeks are the only times we'll probably see any help is Sivas plays Fenerbahce. Or not next week, next game day, which is Saturday. So Sivas has two hard games, Malatya, Fenerbahce, and then Gala has their last hard game versus Alanya. It's worth noting that Guli got sent off, will likely miss 3 games or more, and Sarachi is also suspended for the Alanya game, so they're thankfully still a mess.
Yeah, exactly. Not to mention all the other guys who are still out. So.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly the dream of passing Galatasaray has to stay alive. It would be it would be really lame to just give up on that. And even passing Sivas, like you said, there are 2 definite matches where we can see them losing points. They only need to draw in those 2 matches, and we have the chance to pass them. And I mean, let's also be clear: this is the Turkish Super League. They could full out lose through all of their matches. You know, like anything can happen. We could lose the rest of our matches from here on out. Like, there's really no telling what could happen. Knock on wood, because we obviously do not want to do that. But really, I mean, it's a fascinating league as always. The title chase has gotten a lot less fascinating if we're going to be realistic. It's now fully between Başakşehir and Trabzon, just 2 teams. But that's a good little race, 2-point difference between them. The race for Europe between Sivas, Galatasaray, Beşiktaş, Fener, and Alanyaspor, there's 6 points separating all of those teams. So that's very exciting. And obviously the table at the bottom for relegation, Ankara Gücü is looking like they're going down, but Rize, Yeni Malatya, Konya, Kayseri, Denizli, Gençler, like there's still a lot of action for relegation.
They're all from 3 points, yeah.
So, I mean, stay woke, by which I mean awake, and like watch those matches because there's a lot to pay attention to.
It's worth noting Kasımpaşa is on a multi-game unbeaten streak. 8 games they have not lost, dating back to February 17th.
And we just had Kayseri also on a good form.
But they are now, they're now free of relegation zone by like quite a margin, 7 points, which might not seem a lot, but is.
Yeah, I didn't even mention them in that hunt
probably
there
enough.
because they're really pretty safe.
They kind of pull clear. Hopefully they let us win, and hopefully Quaresma doesn't play.
So one,
too much.
You hope that. I mean, I bet he doesn't want to do that. Now, one more point of order, Evran. I hand it to you again. Tell us what on earth the TFF is trying to pull with foreign players.
Yeah, it's not official, but we've been hearing this in their rumblings.
Now, I mean, this is significantly worse than what we'd heard last time.
Yeah, it's kind of like just a rewind to what we used to hear. This is what's been proposed. So it's not passed yet, but for next season to only allow 12 foreigners in the club with 8 on the field. And then the season afterwards, 21, 22, to have only 10 foreigners in the club, 7 on the field. In the following season, 2022, 2023, only 8 foreigners in the club, which is kind of what we used to be on, with 6 on the field. Basically, it's just stupid. I don't know who's making these propositions, why this is happening, who has money to make from this, but it's proven to be bad in any way. It's bad for the clubs, bad for the players, bad for the national team, bad for the finances. I don't understand why this keeps happening, but hopefully someone gets sense and this does not happen. If it does, it'll be some tough times.
You know what
ahead.
really sucks? And I'm going to make this real brief. We don't want to talk a lot about this because I feel like we could have we probably will do a whole episode on this in the off season. When we're looking for things to talk about, this news item will probably pop up again and we can pop off, as they say. But one thing I really do think sucks is that what you have to see is that, generally speaking, the level of Turkish football is at its highest ever. And it's hard to believe because the clubs, the elite clubs in Turkey are at their lowest point ever, possibly. But with that said, the rest of the league is at its highest point. And you can see how interesting and fun and competitive the Turkish Super League has gotten with this influx of foreign talent, raising the stakes, making the Turkish talent play harder for their positions. And then the quality of Turkish players has increased, as we see with the Turkish national side, with Turkish players playing in all the good leagues around Europe now. Everything about Turkish football is in a very good place, except for the large clubs, which are flailing 100% because of terrible ownership and management in that sort of 90s, 2000s era where things got a little heated and people just started throwing money around like idiots. And short of that, if those bungling morons had not destroyed the three famed clubs of Turkey, financially and sort of spiritually even, Turkish football would be soaring right now.
It's also fair to say that the clubs haven't done enough to stop the downward slide. They just kind of slowed it down for times, but I think definitely Fenerbahce, Gala, and Beşiktaş have been guilty of betting on winning to fix the problems, which is not. It was all started on that foundation of not even betting anything. I'm just spending like Yildirim Demirören, Aziz Yildirim, who's the Galatasaray guy. But if you look back at those old transfers, I think we were spending $8 million on Tabata.
Right, that era when we were known.
Fenerbahce spent $12 million on Musa, so $15 million on Guiza. Those are large
wasting man like Aragones. What's sort of amazing about that era is that was when we were the kind of like China or Arabia, where we were gonna bring in all the old guys and overpay. And we got that reputation, but that came with a price, and the price of that was the financial ruin of our big three clubs. And the price of that, because people see the big three clubs flailing, the assumption is that Turkish football is struggling, whereas it's very much the opposite. We have major TV contracts that Turkish football is now aired all around the world in a manner that it never was before. It's gaining exposure around the world and developing talent.
And our national team might not suck anymore.
That's the main thing, is that the national team has turned into a formidable side, finally, kind of even consistently.
Yeah, there's actually talent, which is weird. And it's not all jerk.
Right, and that's the thing. When you put a price on your position on a squad, and it can be taken by anyone. I'm not, politically speaking, I'm not a big free market hooty-doo guy. That's not my style. But in football, it's sports. It's not the stakes are not as high as the real world. And I think it's in a vacuum.
I think
you've got to operate with the idea that more competition from places is inherently good, because sports is inherently a competitive enterprise. There's no need for cooperation between clubs. There is no, that's not how it works.
Yeah, there's more room for utopic, pure incentive-driven type, government schemes in soccer and football. That will work, because no one's going to starve to death.
There's no stake. There's no logic for a stakeholder. It's fully a share. You're just looking out for yourself.
Yeah.
Period. Your goal is to win, and you can be cutthroat without it. You're not killing people and destroying the world in the process. So with that logic in place, go out there and win. You know what I'm saying? What are we doing limiting ourselves in the quality that will be available to the country.
Yeah, it just inflates the prices of Turkish players. And,
we're gonna have to,
that's why I think right before the foreign deals, players like Tarık Şamdal were going for like 5 million.
Mehmet Topuz,
like he's useless. Yeah, Mehmet Topuz going for like 8 million. I don't know how much.
We were gonna pay like 14 or something.
Just inflated fees. Yeah, so it's not good in any shape. For the national team, for the clubs, for the players, it's just not good. And Turkish players are, not to be stereotypical, but aren't known for, being really inspired and not being lazy and working hard, as we've seen with like Ozan Tufan and Güven Yalçın. I don't think we want them to have guaranteed playing time. Those type
no
of
one should, honestly. No one should, but certainly, you're right. Like, No, I mean, it's a terrible formula for disaster, which we've seen borne out before. It's like I don't know. The definition of insanity, the classic definition of insanity is to do the same thing over and over again, even though it's failed every single time, or to keep making the same mistake, essentially. And that's what we're doing. We're being classically insane. So congratulations to the TFF in that regard. Hopefully that does not happen, but I somehow see it happening. But anyway, more to come on that in the offseason when we have nothing else to talk about. For now, let's sign out because we have a lot to talk about going forward, and we've already done too much talking about whatever we've had to say here. So close us out, everyone. Say your last piece to these folks.
I pray Lowlights comes back because he's our best player. I think I've always stood by that, and if Lowlights is not back, Boateng should be playing because we need a 10. We 3 defensive mids doesn't need to happen anymore. That's really about it.
Yeah, agreed. Theoretically, he'll be questionable for Yeni Malatya. Realistically, probably questionable against Fener, but we really need him against Fener. But yeah, I will say follow the mothership at Beşiktaş_INT on Twitter to get all the latest news. Our goons are working around the clock to keep you guys informed about everything, all the latest transfer news, and everything else regarding, everything. There's so much going on right now in the league and with the club. Follow this podcast at Eagles_podcast. We are branching out and retweeting people who communicate with us and writing comments, and Evran and I are all over it. So stay on there, stay in touch. Follow Evran at FanOfBJK. Follow myself at Sir_Writes_a lot. Follow at AkrabJK. We'll be in touch with you guys about Mohamed Aminu and everything there is to say about the raffle. Every time you spend $10 on the Academy in Accra, Ghana, we will give you a ticket, and you can get a El Neni jersey at the end of the whole thing.
Match worn
El Neni shirt, no less. Again, I'll give you more info on the next podcast because we're going to have a lot to talk about. But I do, of course, have one final thing to say, which is very important, and I really can't go an episode without it. Go Beşiktaş! See you next week. Or this
You could add it in.
Yoldan geldi.
Beşiktaş International hopes you enjoyed this program.